What if I told you the same man who lifted a nation to glory in the 1986 FIFA World Cup also lost control of his own life? He conquered the world with a ball at his feet. He made millions believe in miracles. He became a god in the streets of Argentina. But off the field, the legend of Diego Maradona was fighting a battle he couldn't dribble past. This is not just the story of football's greatest genius. It's the story of how talent can make you famous, but only discipline can keep you there. Diego Maradona, from slums to stadium glory. The boy from Villa Fiorito, rising from poverty with nothing but a football and a dream. Part 1. The Boy from the Shadows. Before the stadiums chanted his name, before the world watched in awe at the 1986 FIFA World Cup, before he became a symbol of pride for an entire nation, there was just a small boy in Villa Fiorito. Diego Maradona was born into poverty in the outskirts of Buenos Aires, Argentina. The streets were dusty, the houses were small, the future looked limited. Electricity often failed, water was not always guaranteed, but one thing was always present: a football. At just 3 years old, he received his first ball. It wasn't just a toy, it became his escape. While other children played for fun, Diego played with obsession. He slept with the ball beside him. He dribbled through narrow alleys as if defenders were already chasing him. He practiced for hours, not because someone forced him, but because something inside him burned. By the age of 8, he was spotted by a youth scout and joined Argentinos Juniors. That was the first spark. Crowds began to whisper about the small boy with magic in his left foot. He wasn't tall, he wasn't physically strong, but when the ball touched his feet, the world seemed to slow down. At 15, he made his professional debut. At 16, he was already being called the future of Argentine football. Pressure began early, fame began early, expectations began early. And that's where the story truly begins, because talent can lift you out of poverty, but it can also place the weight of a nation on your shoulders before you are ready to carry it. The world was about to witness a genius rise, but no one yet knew the price he would pay for it. Part 2. The Golden Left Foot. By the time he turned 20, Diego Maradona was no longer just a promising boy from Villa Fiorito. He was Argentina's brightest hope. Every touch felt different, every dribble felt dangerous, every match felt like a performance. Defenders kicked him, pulled him, fouled him relentlessly, but he kept getting up. In 1982, he stepped onto the world stage at the FIFA World Cup in Spain. The expectations were massive. Argentina wanted another hero. The world wanted to see if the hype was real. But pressure is heavy, especially for someone so young. Argentina struggled. Maradona was targeted, frustrated, and eventually sent off. The dream moment didn't turn into glory. It turned into a lesson. And then came Europe. First, a high-profile move to FC Barcelona. The spotlight grew brighter, the media grew louder, money flowed in, fame expanded beyond borders. But so did controversy. Injuries hit him hard. A brutal tackle nearly ended his career. Off-field distractions began creeping in. Late nights, party culture, the first whispers of dangerous habits. Still, when he stepped onto the pitch, magic returned. Then came the move that would define his legend: SSC Napoli. Naples was not a football giant. It was overlooked, underestimated, much like Diego once was. And that connection ignited something powerful. With Maradona leading, Napoli achieved the impossible: league titles, glory, respect. The city worshipped him. Murals painted his face, churches displayed his image. To Naples, he wasn't just a player, he was salvation. The golden left foot had turned dreams into reality. But fame had now reached dangerous levels. He wasn't just admired, he was idolized. And when the world treats you like a god, it becomes harder to remember that you are human. The hand of God and the goal of the century, one match that defined brilliance and controversy forever. Part 4. When the crown became heavy. After lifting the trophy at the 1986 FIFA World Cup, Diego Maradona was no longer just a footballer. He was untouchable, or so the world believed. In Naples, he wasn't simply admired, he was worshipped. Murals covered buildings, babies were named after him. The city treated him like a savior who had delivered them from decades of humiliation. With SSC Napoli, he brought league titles and pride to a region long overshadowed by northern Italy. But when you become a god to millions, who tells you no? Fame expanded beyond control. The spotlight never turned off. Every move was watched, every night became an event. Powerful figures wanted to be near him, dangerous circles opened their doors, and discipline began to slip. Training sessions were missed, late nights became routine. The whispers about drug use grew louder. Cocaine entered the picture, not as a rumor, but as a reality. On the field, flashes of brilliance still appeared. He could still change a game in seconds, but consistency began fading. His body started paying the price for what his lifestyle demanded. In 1991, the fall became public. A failed drug test, a 15-month suspension, headlines everywhere. The same man who once carried a nation on his shoulders was now facing global embarrassment. The crown was still on his head, but it felt heavier than ever. Because talent can win you the world, but without discipline, it slowly takes it away. King of Naples, transforming Napoli into champions and becoming a city's hero. Part 5. The collapse behind the applause. When Diego Maradona returned from suspension, the world hoped for a comeback story. Fans wanted redemption, Argentina wanted their hero back, football wanted its magician, but time is undefeated. At the 1994 FIFA World Cup, Maradona appeared determined. He scored a stunning goal against Greece and celebrated with wild, almost desperate intensity, staring into the camera as if shouting, "I'm still here." But something felt different, stronger, faster, aggressive. Then came the second failed drug test, this time for ephedrine. And just like that, it was over. He was expelled from the tournament. Argentina collapsed soon after. The image of him being escorted away by a nurse became symbolic, not just of a player leaving a competition, but of a legend walking away from his final chance at redemption. Off the pitch, the damage was deeper. Addiction tightened its grip, weight fluctuated dangerously, health crises followed, heart problems, hospitalizations, emergency treatments. Financial troubles surfaced despite millions earned during his career. Lawsuits, tax issues, personal conflicts. The genius who once dribbled past entire defenses now struggled to outrun his own demons. The applause had faded, the stadium lights were gone, and in the silence, reality was loud. Talent had made him immortal in memory, but lack of discipline had made his decline painfully human. The world watched him rise like a god. Now it watched him fall like a man. Fame beyond control. When celebrity status became bigger than the man himself. Part 6. The final whistle. In his later years, Diego Maradona was no longer sprinting past defenders. He was fighting his own body. Surgeries, hospital visits, rehabilitation programs. The headlines were no longer about trophies, they were about health scares. Yet something strange never disappeared: the love. No matter the scandals, no matter the suspensions, no matter the chaos, Argentina never truly stopped loving him. He tried coaching, he appeared at tournaments. When Argentina lifted the trophy at the 2014 FIFA World Cup final as finalists, cameras still searched for his reaction in the stands. Even in a different generation, his shadow remained. Because legends don't vanish, they linger. But years of addiction and physical strain had already written their toll into his body. In November 2020, the world received the news that shook football to its core. Maradona was gone. The streets of Buenos Aires filled with tears. Murals were repainted, old footage replayed on every screen. The goals, the dribbles, the passion. And suddenly the conversation became bigger than football. He was proof that talent can lift you from poverty to the peak of the world. He was proof that charisma can make millions adore you. But he was also proof that discipline is the foundation that keeps greatness standing. Because without discipline, even genius can collapse. The final whistle blew on his life, but his story remains a warning as powerful as his left foot once was. Greatness is not just about reaching the top, it's about staying there. The battle with addiction, how drugs began to overshadow football greatness. Part 8, the lesson beyond the legend. The world will always remember the goals, the dribbles, the magic. They will replay that night at the 1986 FIFA World Cup forever. They will debate the hand of God. They will celebrate the goal of the century. And the name Diego Maradona will never disappear from football history. But his story is bigger than highlights. It's about potential and the responsibility that comes with it. Maradona had what few humans ever possess: natural genius. He could see spaces others couldn't. He could move in ways that defied logic. Talent flowed through him effortlessly. Yet life proved a brutal truth. Talent opens the door.
Discipline keeps it open. Without structure, even the greatest gifts can become burdens. Fame without boundaries becomes dangerous. Power without self-control becomes destructive. Maradona's rise inspires. His fall warns. And together, they create a powerful message for anyone chasing greatness, whether in sports, business, art, or life itself. Because the difference between a short-lived star and a lasting legacy is not ability, it is discipline. That is the final lesson behind the legend. Health, scandals, and financial chaos. The painful decline behind the spotlight. Part 8. Immortality and imperfection. Even after his passing, Diego Maradona refuses to fade into silence. In Argentina, he is still El Diego. In Naples, he is still a saint in blue. The stadium of SSC Napoli was renamed in his honor, a permanent reminder that one man once changed the destiny of an entire city. Murals continue to rise on concrete walls. Children still wear his number 10. Old fans still argue that no one has ever played the game quite like him. Because legends are complicated. Maradona was brilliance and chaos in the same body. He was discipline on the pitch and rebellion off it. He was humility in poverty and excess in fame. That contradiction is what makes his story powerful. He showed the world how high a human being can rise with raw talent and fearless confidence. But he also showed how fragile success becomes without self-control. And maybe that's why his story resonates so deeply. He wasn't perfect, he wasn't polished, he wasn't safe. He was human. And in that humanity lies the ultimate truth. Greatness is not destroyed by failure. It is destroyed by the habits we refuse to control. Maradona's life is not just a football story. It is a mirror. A reminder that the same fire that makes you legendary, if left unchecked, can also burn everything down. A genius without discipline. Why talent alone couldn't protect his legacy. Part 9. The world remembers the magic. Even decades after his prime, Diego Maradona remains a benchmark for greatness in football. When young players take the field, coaches show videos of his dribbles, passes, and goals. Fans in Argentina, Naples, and around the world still chant his name. His goal of the century is replayed endlessly, inspiring awe and admiration. But beyond the goals and trophies, Maradona's story teaches that fame and talent are only part of the equation. His triumphs remind us that genius can create miracles. His struggles remind us that even miracles are fragile when human weaknesses take over. In stadiums, in streets, and in hearts, Maradona lives forever. Not as a flawless hero, but as a legend who dared, succeeded, failed, and rose again in memory. The final lesson. Discipline matters as much as talent. Greatness must be guarded. Part 10. The True Legacy. The story of Diego Maradona is not just about football. It is a lesson for everyone chasing greatness. Talent alone can make you famous. Fame alone can make you a legend. But discipline, the unseen, quiet force, keeps you there. Maradona's life reminds us that brilliance without boundaries can crumble, success without self-control can slip through your fingers, and that the true heroes are not just those who achieve, but those who sustain. So when we celebrate his genius, we also remember his humanity. Diego Maradona's legacy is immortal, not only for the goals he scored or the titles he won, but for the lesson that greatness must always be guarded with discipline, humility, and care. Because in the end, talent wins the game, but discipline wins the life.